The wind howled across the open plains, carrying with it the scent of smoke and gunpowder. The horizon burned in streaks of orange, and the sun had not yet risen when Clara Doyle stirred the dying embers of the campfire. She was shivering, partly from cold, mostly from fear. Across from her sat a man with a Colt revolver resting easily on his knee. His name was Ethan Rourke, a rancher turned reluctant fighter in a land that had forgotten peace. His ranch lay miles to the west, near the Red Mesa, a stretch of land contested by every man with a gun and a grudge. Clara hadn't planned to end up in his camp that night. She hadn't planned for any of this, the ambush, the gunfire, the blood that had soaked her shawl. Now she sat in silence, watching as Ethan stirred his coffee, his sharp eyes scanning the darkness. "Best not talk till the sun's up," he said gruffly. "They'll be listenin'." "They?" she asked softly. "Whoever you were ridin' with." She swallowed hard, her hands trembling near the flames. "I wasn't ridin' with anyone. I was just trying to get home." He looked at her for a long moment, the firelight cutting across the scar on his cheek. "Home's a dangerous word out here, lady. Don't belong to anyone anymore. By dawn, the plains were silent. Ethan stood, stretched, and packed the saddlebag. He'd said little all night, but his mind worked like a man counting ghosts. He'd found her near the creek at dusk, her horse dead, a bullet through the saddle. The red scarf she wore had nearly gotten her shot. It was the same color as the flags carried by Carver's men, the raiders who'd burned Ethan's ranch 2 months ago. And that was the thing. He wasn't sure if she'd been one of them, or just unlucky enough to look like it. "You can ride with me to the ridge," he said finally. "After that, you're on your own." Clara nodded, clutching the small locket around her neck. "Thank you." They rode in silence for miles. The sun climbed, turning the grass to gold. Every sound, the creak of saddle leather, the caw of distant crows, felt too loud. At last, Ethan spoke. "What's your name?" "Clara Doyle." "Doyle," he muttered. "There used to be a Doyle ranch out east, by the Cotton River." "That was my father's," she said quietly. "Before Carver's men came." Ethan's hand tightened on the reins. "You mean Carver took your land, too?" She nodded, eyes glassy. "He took everything. My brother, he tried to fight. They hanged him in front of the barn." The air between them changed. Ethan said nothing, but something like pity flickered in his eyes. He'd lost men the same way, friends, family, dreams turned to ash. They stopped at noon by a shallow stream. Ethan watered the horses, while Clara knelt beside the water, washing her face. The reflection that stared back at her was pale, dirt-streaked, haunted. She looked up. "Why are you helping me?" Ethan didn't look at her. "Because last time I didn't, someone burned my home." That night, they camped again. The stars burned cold above the plains, and Clara gathered dry grass for the fire. She sat close to Ethan, the warmth between them thin but steady. He handed her a tin of beans. "Ain't much, but it's food." She smiled faintly. "Better than I've had in days." He studied her for a moment. "You're not used to this." "No," she admitted. "I was raised in a big house. My father always said I should learn to shoot, but I wanted to play piano." Ethan gave a dry chuckle. "Piano won't save you out here." Her smile faded. "No, I know that now." Silence stretched between them. The flames danced, throwing their shadows long and soft. Then Clara spoke again, her voice trembling. "Ethan, do you think people can start over?" He looked into the fire. "Depends what you're startin' from." Near midnight, when the fire was low, Clara woke to the sound of hooves. Ethan was already up, rifle in hand. 4 men rode out of the dark, faces hidden by scarves, rifles gleaming in the moonlight. The one in front called out, "Rourke, you're a hard man to find." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Carver." The man laughed low. "You got my attention when you burned my supply wagons last week. Didn't expect you'd be campin' with a pretty lady, though." Clara's heart stopped. She knew that voice. She'd heard it the night her brother died. "Carver," she whispered. He grinned, teeth glinting. Well, little Clara Doyle, thought you'd be bones by now." Ethan turned sharply toward her. "You know him." She trembled. "He's the one who..." But she never finished. Carver fired. Ethan dove, tackling her behind a rock as bullets tore through the camp. Gunfire thundered across the plains. Ethan returned fire, his rifle cracking bright in the dark. Clara screamed as a bullet grazed her arm, but she stayed low, clutching the pistol he tossed her. "Can you shoot?" he yelled. She nodded, breath shaking. "Then shoot straight." She did, and when the smoke cleared, 2 of Carver's men were down. The others turned tail, retreating into the black horizon. Carver himself slumped in the dirt, wounded but breathing. Ethan approached, revolver raised. "This one's mine," he growled. But Clara stepped forward, her voice trembling. "No, let me." Ethan froze. She stood over Carver, her pistol shaking. The man sneered through blood. "Go on, girl. Your father said the same before I slit his throat." Her finger trembled on the trigger. Ethan watched, saying nothing. The firelight flickered against his face, his eyes dark and knowing. Finally, Clara lowered the gun. "No, I won't become you." Ethan's shot rang out instead. Cold, final. Dash dash dash. By dawn, the world was still again. Clara sat by the ashes of the fire, the first light of morning spilling across her face. Her arm was bandaged, her hands raw from the fight. Ethan stood beside his horse, staring at the horizon. She looked at him. "You didn't have to kill him." "I did," he said simply. "Because he'd have come back. Men like that always do." She nodded slowly. "What now?" He glanced east. "You still got that Doyle land." She laughed bitterly. "Just dirt and burned fences." "Then it's still something. You rebuild, fence it again, grow something new." She smiled faintly. "And you?" He looked toward the sunrise, eyes distant. "I reckon I've been running from ghosts long enough." He turned to her, his voice low. "You shared my fire last night, Clara. That means something. You can ride with me till you find home again." She hesitated, then nodded. "All right." They mounted up, side by side, the prairie stretching endless before them. The fire behind them smoked gently in the wind, a mark of survival, of loss, and of something new being born. And as the sun rose fully, its golden light washing over the land, Ethan realized what had truly happened that morning. He had not just fought for vengeance. He had found someone who reminded him what it meant to live again. And for Clara Doyle, the woman who shared his fire with the enemy, the unthinkable had already happened. She had found peace in a world that had forgotten mercy.